Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a 2019 review of the Rocket Mortgage Classic. We have a first-time winner in Nate Lashley at a first-time event. So it only seems fitting, right? It's kind of remarkable how he got there. He had to go through the Monday qualifier, but he didn't qualify for it. Doc Redman ended up qualifying for he ended up getting the position, or a few people, I should say. So if you don't know, Monday qualifiers, they take X amount of players from the qualifier and invite them to the tournament. So depending on how many places are still open or how much they reserve, that's who gets invited to the Monday qualifier. I don't know exactly how many people got invited this week, but needless to say, it wasn't Nate Lashley. There needed to be 3 withdrawals, and there were. So Nate Lashley got in through the right circumstances happening. And then he goes on to win it. Guess who got second place? Doc Redman, the top Monday qualifier. Here, let's look at the spreadsheet. So there you go. You have Nate Lashley at top, Doc Redman second, and I kind of tried to look. I had heard Wes Homan's name somewhere. I just want to, for my own, maybe he's not up there. I was watching and I swore I saw Wes Homan. He would have been another Monday qualifier. Either way. It was kind of a difficult tournament to predict, right? We didn't have any course history. All we had was last week's results, kind of going off a recent form, and then we also had just regular stats, swing metrics. So first and foremost, just wanted to go through the salary. The Drive the Green, the $5 Drive the Green, the winning lineup had 651 points. The optimal lineup had 691.5 points. And here are all of your golfers who are in the optimal lineup. I'm sorry, I didn't actually color code this so you guys could see. I'm just gonna go by memory and actually I should be able to remember who was there. There we go. So here, the ones in light blue, that was in the $5 lineup. And then these little tick marks, these are all the optimal lineup golfers. So since, I mean, Nate Lashley got in, I think, on a Wednesday. So DraftKings didn't have the opportunity to actually add him to the field. So it's interesting to see. I don't know. I mean, the fact that the $5 Drive the Green had Doc Redman, who was a Monday qualifier, that's pretty impressive. Everyone else was, fairly priced. Okay. It's a very, very interesting lineup build, and I think it works just fine. But 651 versus 691, there was room. There was room for other people to beat him out. No one had access to first place, so 10 points from the first place winner gets flushed down the toilet, and that's the difference between first and second. So it kind of brings everyone a little closer to each other. Second place obviously is 20, third place is 18, and then it just goes down by 2 from there. So everyone was pretty close for finishing position points, that is. There wasn't really much of a tell. If I were to hide these hide these columns, POA does not show up. And that was one of the, I guess that was more, in my opinion, more of a difficult thing to figure out, only because I was unsure of what the actual grass type was. I mean, I listened to the actual superintendent of the golf course say it was Poana, so I'm not gonna say it wasn't. I did hear on the PGA radio that there is a bit of a difference of Poana in different regions of the world, which makes sense. And some of these golf tournaments that are played during the February through April events, they're being played in California, 70-degree, 60-degree weather. They're coming through winter, so really the grass type I could see being I understand. There's slower greens typically at that time of the year. I would assume POA is just more prevalent. They could cut the greens down pretty short at the Detroit Golf Club. They also had really warm days. So, I just don't have a tell. I didn't know going into the tournament. Looking at this, obviously the POA stats, like just the top 4 guys, obviously you can't use that. Brandt Snedeker was a guy that a lot of people liked because of the Donald Ross design. Apparently he does really well at Donald Ross golf courses. The other 2 guys that have decent POA splits, Joaquin Niemann, he's only played 8 events, so yeah. And really his overall in 2019 POA splits, or his scores, his averages aren't the greatest. But he did have a good week last week, and his recent form was doing pretty well. I mean, the rest of the leaderboard, though, honestly, like if we go from Hideki up, you could have been on people like Hideki, Hovland, Ben Ann, Billy Horschel. I could see that. I played a lot of Wyndham Clark. He didn't give me a lot of results. But going up from Hideki, you had Sepp Straka, JT Poston, Ted Potter, Cameron Tringali, Brian Stewart. Someone made a joke on Twitter, and I thought it was pretty funny. He had said, apparently to do well at this golf course, you have to do well at the Corrales Punta Cana. Or no, Sanderson Farms. It was Sanderson Farms, which is an alternate event if you didn't know. Basically like a web.com tour, which is now called a Corn Ferry Tour. So, I really don't have a tell for you. You know what I really want to do? Let's go down to the miscuts, because I do want to talk about Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson throughout that entire tournament did not look interested whatsoever. I watched both of his rounds almost start to finish, and DJ plays very fast. He plays quick, and it just looks like he's not completely focused, but he plays that way all the time. He took a long amount of time on his putts. I just don't know. He's been putting like trash lately, and his putter didn't help him whatsoever. But then his ball striking was pretty awful too. He had some flare outs to the right. Like, he typically hits a fade, and these fades weren't even they weren't even close. They just look like looping slices that amateurs hit. I don't know if he was trying something out. I had made a couple Twitter comments where I had thought he just wasn't that interested. Listening to one of his interviews earlier in the week, he seemed like he was all for this tournament. So I don't know what's going on. They joked Thursday's round that he had a dinner reservation that he was trying to get to, and that's why he was playing as quick as he was. Look, if that's true, that's pretty crappy. I think that's pretty trivial. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't think it's true. He's a professional golfer. I get it. We all have those tendencies, but I don't think that's what was going on with DJ. But oh man, I had him owned in 40% of my lineup, so you can only imagine how well I did this week. It was pretty awful. I wasn't really on Gary Woodland. I didn't play a lot of Gary Woodland. Only because with the US Open win, I just didn't think he had it. He did play pretty remarkable though. He was like 5 over after 13 holes on Thursday's round. Ended up getting like 4 birdies in a row, closing in to get to 1 over, which at the time I think the cut looked like it was at 1 under, but everyone knew it was going to be moving up. He just didn't have a chance going after that. Ryan Moore was a favorite of everybody's. It was a favorite of mine. I played him in a bunch of lineups. Had him in one of my one and done pools. Couldn't tell you what went on with him. I stayed away from Bubba. I didn't care. There's some, I don't know what's going on with Bubba, but you can obviously see his recent form average is pretty awful. He was a 5, so I mean, in the last week bucket, that's kind of why I stayed away from him, but I don't know what's going on with him. Duffner was another favorite of everyone's. I played him in a bunch of lineups also, but I was pretty skeptical. It's Jason Duffner we're speaking about. I was really into KH Lee and Charlie Hoffman. Obviously, both those guys do the greatest. Well, I should say they missed the cut. KH Lee, his round, I don't know. I think he hit 75% of fairways off of his drive, and then 75% of his greens. He just couldn't putt. I think he lost a bunch of strokes putting. So that's unfortunate, but let's look at see if we can find anything. Let me add a filter here. All right, so we got Nate Lashley there. Yeah, as you can tell on this column here, all the golfers I was interested in, not many at the top of the leaderboard. It wasn't good, guys. Seriously. Here, I don't have the whatever. We went by overall POA splits. We do have a few people at the top of the leaderboard. Actually, we have we had 4 golfers. It would have been hard to pick one of them. I mean, you really had the option between Dustin, Hideki, Ricky, and Woodland. Those were your 4 top golfers. If you picked Hideki correctly, I mean, if you started with him, you probably started pretty well. Especially if you went down to like Brandt Snedeker being your second golfer, and then Joaquin Niemann being your next one. Or if you just avoided him altogether and just went with, cheaper golfers. Started at 9.9, go to 9.3, drop down to 8.9. I mean, that's a pretty good starting point. You had 3 good golfers. It was just it was a difficult tournament to read. I didn't see much that I think we could have used. But I don't know. Don't know what to tell you guys. We went by POA splits for the top 10%. You guys can't see that on the screen, but I just sorted by this just to see the golfers that finished inside the top 10, how well they did. And of course, we had the same 4 that we just talked about. There wasn't anything that we could really go by. Going by 2019 POA splits. Again, Hideki's at the top. Now you got Billy Horschel that crept up there. Patrick Reed, Brandt Snedeker's a little bit further down there. So it wasn't a very good tell of who to use. Let's hide all of these fields here now that we went through all of those. And just go by the stats here. Let's see if we can sort this and just look to see if anything pops out. I had said tee to green was an important stat this week. I can't really tell you, we really can't go by that. Off the tee, that was the other one that I said was a big one. Yeah, I don't see anything that would have predicted any of this. Tee to green stats, a lot of the top guys missed the cut. No one finished inside the top 10. Off of the tee stats, Bubba, Dustin, it really wasn't off of the tee that did anything. Approach, Hideki led the approach. There's Nate Lashley. Cameron Tringali, Joaquin Niemann, Sepp Straka. So I guess if you were to create a lineup that started with Hideki, well, either way, you wouldn't have got to Nate Lashley because he wasn't available. You could have put a good team together with approach. Or starting with approach. Around the green, we see a few more people. 5 now. I don't know, guys. I don't see much. God, putting definitely did not matter coming into this. Here's your green and reg percentage. Your proximity. Gosh, I mean, if there were say 3 golfers in the top 5, that's where I would say we can use a stat to our advantage. But there's nothing. There's nothing to go by. 40 or better percentage, nothing. There was nothing to predict any of this. At least for, you know, going swing metrics, if we were to use the bucket system and see, you know, just looking at golfers that I thought we needed to play, you know, here's our top 5. Actually, let's just go down to the top 10. So top 10 stats, that's where I use the buckets from. You wanted at least 2 golfers that were a 1. You wanted at least 1 golfer that was a 2. At least 1 golfer that was a 3. Here you have 3 golfers that were 1. 1 golfer that was a 2. You could even go 4 golfers that were a 1. I mean, you could have just went with 1s and 2s. But, like, you wouldn't have played those guys, honestly. And there was a little bit of everything, to be quite honest. I think, like, even the 4s had a pretty good consistency rating of choosing someone. 5s, not so much. 6s, not so much. You know, going up to the top 5, this is where I like to start lineups with. Every range had a 0 in it, meaning there was nothing that was conclusive. So, unfortunately, guys, the review video doesn't really show much. This was a new golf tournament. Didn't know what to expect. We have no course history. The you know, we always look at grass surfaces. That didn't matter. Didn't seem to matter. Swing metrics, nothing aligned with winning this tournament. So I unfortunately put more money into it than I typically do. I think I put in $31. I got 7 back. Just wasn't, it was note to self, never do that again. When there's no course history, which we're going to be seeing that with the 3M Open next week. Close to where I live. Fun fact. I won't be going to it though. I don't think I will be. There's still the opportunity, but I don't think I will be. I know very little of the TPC Twin Cities. I have been at that golf course once. Did not play it. It was for the 3M Championship back, sometime in the early 2000s. I have a fun story about that, and I'll include it in my preview video. But for the review video of this, I'm sorry, guys. I have nothing to tell you. Nothing to add. It was a crapshoot. It's just one of those weeks. Hopefully you guys did well. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Until next week, I should have a preview video up tomorrow for the 3M Open. Or I might try something a little different this week. Or at least I'm going to start brainstorming different ways of presenting this information. But I will let you know when that video comes out. But thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And hopefully see you tomorrow.